The man was clearly invisible, yet his female subordinate, who happened to be blind, was able to sense his presence every single time. Even when she wore headphones, she could still pinpoint exactly where he was. This quickly sparked John's curiosity. Annie explained that she could recognize him by his scent. Because she had never been able to see, her sense of smell and hearing were far more sensitive than most people's. After hearing this, John activated his full invisibility and asked Annie to guess where he was standing. His footsteps were barely audible, yet Annie heard them clearly. She could even make out his general outline. Reaching out to her left, she grabbed the edge of his clothing with perfect accuracy. That moment unexpectedly stirred John's feelings. On impulse, he invited Annie out to dinner. Everything happened so suddenly that Annie didn't know how to react. This was a world where multiple races coexisted. Not long after, John took her to a restaurant. Annie said it was her first time going out to eat with someone from work and she felt genuinely happy. Her thoughts drifted back to what John had said earlier at the detective agency and her face instantly flushed with embarrassment. She began to wonder why John felt drawn to her and whether this might actually be a date. When she asked him, John admitted it outright. Annie grew even more flustered. John stood up and moved beside her, gently taking her hand and placing it against his chest. Because John was invisible, others couldn't read his emotions through facial expressions, so he let Annie feel his slightly rapid heartbeat instead. In truth, he had been nervous about inviting her out as well. After dinner, John offered to walk her to the station, but because of what had happened earlier at the restaurant, Annie was too shy to hold onto his arm again. She excitedly insisted that she could get home by herself. However, when she heard the faint disappointment in John's voice, she quickly explained that she wasn't trying to distance herself from him. Her nervousness left her stumbling over her words. John jokingly said that maybe she was just trying to get closer to him in her own way. At that moment, Annie could sense that he was smiling. John said he had no intention of hiding who he was. In fact, he was looking forward to the day Annie would see right through him. He then took her hand and placed it on his arm, escorting her to the station. When Annie finally got home, she covered her face in embarrassment. She realized she had always liked John too. From the day she started working there, John had left a strong impression on her. Even without seeing him, she could tell from his voice that he was calm, mature, and elegant. To Annie, he was incredibly charming. The next day, Annie asked John whether he ever wished others could see him. John instead asked if she wanted to see him. Annie replied that as long as John existed in her heart, that was enough. Later, on her way to work, a bicycle was left in the middle of the road. Annie's cane got caught in the wheel, causing her to stumble and nearly fall. A female coworker who had been buying a drink rushed over and caught her in time, apologizing profusely for not noticing the obstacle earlier. At her workplace, there was also a male coworker. Though he looked lazy and spoke bluntly, he was actually very kind. From Annie's very first day, he always made sure she had a cup of freshly brewed coffee waiting for her. Later, Annie asked the two of them whether her appearance looked strange. Anna immediately guessed that Annie must have someone she liked, otherwise, she wouldn't suddenly care so much about how she looked. Annie couldn't deny it. Just then, John arrived at work. His very first question was whether he could touch Annie's head. Annie assumed it would be a gentle, motherly gesture and found herself looking forward to it. After she agreed, John's hand slowly approached, but his real intention was simply to remove a cherry blossom petal from her hair. An awkward silence followed. Anna was about to ask whether Annie's crush might be John, but Annie quickly denied it and hurriedly reminded John that it was time to meet with their client.